Okay, we're gonna pick up where we left off in the last video of our multi-part series of designing a better 3D printed bearing. But before we jump in, actually, I want to address a question that was left in the comments of the last video, and that had to do with the approach of creating the cylindrical bearings. And the question is, why did I come in and draw it on the front plane and then do a revolve to create the cylinders here versus just coming and drawing a circle and extruding it? So another option is I could have just come in and draw a circle here on the XY plane and make that the same size, constrain it, dimension it, and all that, and then just go ahead and extrude this into a bearing. So I could have done that. The issue is that would have gave me a straight up and down extrusion versus this one where it's already at the angle I want it. And so let me just kind of show really quick what I would have had to do. So I could have extruded it straight up, made it the same dimension, and then come in with the move copy tool here, place that widget, and then give it my 45-degree angle here. And that would have gotten me there. An issue there though is that, the profile here is now not in line with the body. So one advantage of doing it this way is, everything is defined here by the sketch. So my dimensions, my distances, the angle, it's all like if I want to change anything, I just have to go back to one sketch. If I do it this way, I can change the size of this, but the sketch and the body, don't really align. And if I want to change anything, like I could have to go back to the sketch, change the diameter if I wanted to, and then the extrusion, I would have to go to the extrusion feature here to change that. I found it a better approach just to do it this way and use the revolve. That way everything is in one sketch and it'll be easier to define. It's just one of those things. As you become more familiar with the tools available to you, you'll choose, more efficient paths. But, in the beginning, it's okay. It's fine. You can go this way, and it's just as long as you get there. And then the important thing is to kind of sit back and just analyze your model at the end and then think about the approach you took and see if there was a better way you could have gone. And it's easier to see that sometimes at the end of a design rather than, in the beginning where you're not quite sure what path you're going to take. So I just wanted to point that out. If you are interested in learning Fusion, make sure to check out my links below where I have some resources, including my online courses and my weekly live class. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off in the last video. And if you haven't seen last video, just look for the part 1 of this series. Now to create the hole in our snap fit mechanism, I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane here. So let me untoggle these bodies. I'm just going to select this plane. And here what I'll do is I'll project the bottom and the top surface. And what that will do, it'll give me these two lines here. So I'll go to a front view. I'm going to take both of these lines and I'm going to make them a construction line. All right, the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to grab my line tool and I'm just going to start drawing a profile here. Let me zoom in a bit. I'm going to go roughly 4 millimeters. I'm just going to kind of do the shape. I want it to go down a bit, do a little bump out, and then come back in. You'll kind of see where I'm going with this in a second. So this shape here, let me connect these two. For some reason I didn't connect. All right, and then I'll go back and just fix any line that's not straight. So I'll make this horizontal. This is straight. These we can see we've got the perpendicular constraint, so we're good. So now I'm going to go and enter my dimensions. I'm going to give this one 4 millimeters. Let me think, 4, 8, yeah. So I want the opening to be 8 millimeters, so I will make that 4. Here I'll make this, actually I'm not going to dimension this line here. I'm more concerned about defining this edge here. I'm going to make that 2 millimeters. And this little bump out will make that 0.5 millimeter. I'll hit finish sketch. What I want to do is take this profile here and revolve it to join it to the top section of my bearing here. So let's go to create, revolve. It's got the profile already selected, so I'll click the central axis 360 and I'm going to do a join. Click OK. And there we have it. So, all right, we've got this shape now. Let's just do a few things here. I'm gonna add some fillets just to round these edges here. I'm gonna select these three, maybe do a 0.5 millimeter fillet there. Click OK. Okay, sometimes after you've actually created some features, you kind of take a step back and you realize, okay, that's not looking quite right. I actually want this to be much bigger, and I realized that, so I got my dimension wrong. And this is the beauty with Fusion. All you have to do is just go back into the sketch and change your dimensions. So here I'm going to go back to this sketch here, and you may remember I was a little bit hesitant about this profile here. Let me untoggle that body. This dimension here, I mean. Instead of 8, I actually want it to be 16, so I'm going to make that radius 8. That's going to push out a little more. Finish that sketch, and now I look at the top. Yeah, that looks better, more of what I wanted. Okay, now I'm going to bring in that bottom body, and let's do a combine cut. So we'll do modify, combine. Let me turn this to right side up. So this, that's the top and this is the bottom. The target body is going to be the bottom, the tool body is the top. I want to keep tools, I'll click OK. Now if I untoggle top, you'll see I have the hole here. I'm going to take this bottom edge and also add a little fillet to that. So let's do 0.5 millimeters. At this point, because it's kind of hard to kind of zoom in and see what's going on here and how the two interact, it's a good idea to come in with a section analysis. So we'll go to inspect, section analysis. I'm going to choose, let's reference that front plane there. And then I'll hit flip. For some reason it always does it away from me, so we always flip it. Click OK, and we see here that's looking right. So we made the cut, and I did the fillets before the cut, so it can go ahead and create the counterpart to that. Because I could have gone in and just done a revolve and then made a revolve cut to the bottom body, then I would have had to come in and add the fillets later, unless I decided to draw the fillets in the sketch, but that's a different route, I guess. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, you can see that that's going to be pretty tight. I want to leave a little bit of clearance here. Not sure what exactly that's going to be for this snap fit, but let's just start with something and then we'll adjust if necessary. So here I'm going to do modify offset face, and I'm going to select each of these faces. Let's go with a negative 0.3 millimeter clearance, and then we'll see how that snaps together. All right, so here, let's see what that analysis looks like. There's our gap in between there. Okay, I'm going to turn off analysis, and we need a hole going through the center here if we're going to put a shaft in there. So to do that, I'll just create a sketch on the top surface here. I'll throw a circle right off the center. Let's say we have an 8 millimeter rod we're going to throw in there, so I'll set that dimension. E4 extrude here, I'm just going to go down, distance all. It's going to cut through both bodies because I have both of them visible, so I'll click OK. And there we have it. Turn on that analysis. It looks like this. Let's give everything sort of a quick look through. So we've got our clearance there, just to see if there's anything I'm forgetting. I'm sure I'll find a few things after I 3D print this first iteration, but so far that looks good. Cylindrical. One thing I want to do here actually is add chamfers to these, so when I print them I won't have to deal with elephant's foot, where the first layer kind of squishes out and is a little wider than the rest. The current slicer profiles tend to do a good job about minimizing it, but I still like to throw it in where it's critical. So here I'm going to take the timeline back to before I did those two revolve. So I have these, not revolve, the circular patterns I mean, right? So right after the revolves. I'm going to go to modify chamfer, and then I'm going to, oops, not you, let's repeat that. I want to make sure to select these edges. I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to do maybe a 1 millimeter chamfer on those. Okay, and I'm going to take this timeline, drag it back, and you see now they all have the chamfer applied to them. All right, one more thing I want to do before we print this first iteration is I want to come in and add a little slot here to this section of the snap fit mechanism. That's going to allow it to have a little flex to it. Before we do that, I'm actually going to change this circle, that diameter, from 8 millimeters to 10. So let's go back to that sketch that defined it. And here I'm just gonna click that, or double click that 8 millimeters and just do 10. I just want to make that a little bit bigger. All right, finish sketch. Now I'm gonna bring that top and let's go to a front view here. I'm gonna create a sketch in that front plane. I'll hit P for project, choose bodies, and then click to project the outline of the body here. And I'll untoggle the visibility of the body. I don't need to see these sketches, so I'll toggle those off. I'm going to start here by drawing a line right from the origin straight up to the middle of that line. I'm going to take that line and make it a construction line. And the way I'm going to approach this, I'm going to grab my line tool again. I'm going to start with a line right to snapping on that top line. I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to make sure that line is a vertical, so I'm getting that perpendicular constraint. Left click, hold, and that'll transition right to an arc and then go straight up. Now if you don't get these straight, that's fine, we can add the constraints later, so don't fuss about it. Just come in and grab my vertical constraint. I'm going to make this line vertical, and the other important thing is you see how it automatically gave me a tangent here. I want that the same on the opposite side, so I'll grab my tangent constraint, make this arc tangent to this line. Alright, so now maybe adjust this a little bit. And we're going to use our symmetry constraint to make these even about the central line here. So what I'll do is I'll grab my symmetry constraint and I will say I want this line and this line to be symmetric about this center line. And now because we have these tangencies here, so if I move this, everything's going to be symmetric. Now I can add some dimensions to define this. So D for dimension, I'll make this dimension here from the line to the center, 4 millimeters. And let's dimension this arc from the bottom here. And here I want that to be just a millimeter from the bottom. So I'm going to click that point here. And then I'm going to right click and change it to define the dimension not from the center, which is the default, but from the arc circle tangent. And I'll click here and you'll see a little X right at the top of that arc. And I can go ahead and place that dimension on the 1 millimeter there. Perfect, that's what I need. Finish sketch. Let's bring in that top body and that current sketch. I'm going to select that profile, E for extrude, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude this direction symmetric and distance all. Click OK, and there we have it. So that will give this a little flex to it. The idea, it'll snap right to the top here. Another thing I'm noticing here, actually I might as well correct this before I print it. This ended up, I did something that made this a little taller than the top portion here. So where am I? I'm actually flipped around. So this, let me turn it upside down here, or the right side up. So the little snap fit mechanism goes past this bottom body here. And I think I know what caused that. If I untoggle the top body, remember when I came in and I did an offset on this fillet here? Doing that also brought up this entire surface here, so it did an offset on that as well. So if I click on that, I have it selected, you'll see it'll put little 3 marks above that offset feature. So if I double click on that, what I'm going to do, you see here I have 5 faces selected. I'm going to hold Command or Control and deselect this last fillet and then click OK. And now let's see if I bring in the top. Let's go to that view. Yeah, so now they match. Okay, let's do a quick last check before we send this to the printer. So we have our bottom body here, our bearings, and then our top. And let's do a section analysis here just to take a quick look at this cross section. All right, we'll send this first iteration and see what happens. All right, got the top and bottom parts here. First thing I'll do is I'll just check the whole snapping mechanism here, see how that works. So I'm gonna line these up. Goes in all right, it looks pretty, it's got a nice click. All right, and it spins. Okay, so this is without the cylindrical bearings inside, and it works really well. Now taking it off, it takes a little bit of work, but there we go. All right, now I'm gonna put the bearings in and see how it works then. So the thing with these is they go in an alternating pattern. So we'll go ahead and make sure we do that. Now let me see if I can snap these with the bearings in there. All right, we're in. But it's super tight. So, okay, well, you can see it's a lot tighter than it was without the bearings inside. So let's visit the Fusion Design and see what we can change to make this work better. All right, and we will do that in the next video.